What's good, YouTube? Skilzin1985 here. Welcome back to another Pokemon Go PvP video. In the last video, I covered the top 30 Pokemon in the Great League for PvP. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the top 30 counters for those Pokemon in PvP. So if you're hyped for this, please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new. Now, looking at this list briefly before I press record, a few of these Pokemon are actually very similar. Registeel was the top Pokemon for Great League, and that's also the top counter, which obviously probably really means why it's the top Pokemon in general. So, I'm going to skip a few of these Pokemon that we really know what they do. I'm just going to explain why they're here. So, Registeel is obviously the Steel types, is good against the Fairy types like Azumarill. And it's just tanky. It just is really a tanky Pokemon. It can hold off Bastiodon, it can hold off Cresselia, it can hold off Deoxys, things like that. So Registeel overall doesn't matter. It's just going to be a Pokemon that you would want to use. This list is going to give you a bit more of an insight into if you don't have these Pokemon and you have other Pokemon in the CP threshold that you can use these. And you use them right, they can counter the meta, which I think is really cool. So Azumarill, as I said, Azumarill is one of the best Pokemon in Pokemon Go, so it's always going to be here. It's good against the Dragon, it's good against fighting types, it's good against the Scrafties, good against the Hariyama's, good against the Metachams, the Altarias, the Wireless. It's just a very, very fast, hard-hitting Pokemon. So here's a new one, Meganium. We've actually got a few grass Pokemon in this. Meganium with Razor Leaf, Friends, Plant, and Earthquake, so that's going back to the Chikorita Community Day. Again, a very hard hitter, so we see on this list, looking down here, we have Stunfisk is still here, and Quagsire, and things like that. So again, it's all them countering each other. So Meganium does a very good job in countering a Lantern, and counters say Hariyama and the Stunfisk, and just it's got some natural bulk to it. Not the most desirable Pokemon, Meganium, but again, if you've got a decent one from the Community Day, I think I have as well, so this is something I'll look into using. Lantern looking exactly the same moveset as well as before, Spark, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump. I just think it's a very good water Pokemon. It can take a lot of hits, it can deal with Skarmory, and it can deal with Azumarill. If you can tick both those boxes with a Pokemon, I think it's just GG. A lot of Pokemon can have access to Earthquake and things like that, and Mud Bomb, so Mud Bombs are good on the Stunfisk. Stunfisk is actually a decent counter to Lantern, but all in all, I would say this is just it's a good all-round Pokemon. If you can get yourself a decent Lantern, I think you'll be alright. Defense Deoxys is actually exactly the same moveset. Counter Rock Slide and Thunderbolt again for Azumarill and Skarmory and other water types. They're the two to beat. They really are the two. The three to beat are Altaria, Azumarill, Skarmory. They're your three. They're your top tier Pokemon. So we have Whimsicott is a new one actually here. So Razor Leaf, Grass Knot, and Hurricane. So going into what I said in the last video about the main series games, Whimsicott is very powerful, because it's getting the fairy typing as well. It's very good against these fighting types. It's a very fast Pokemon. Hurricane is powerful. So against some of these Pokemon that actually counter some of these other Pokemon, so the grass types, Tropius is going to get hurt, the Venusaur is going to get hurt, the Cherrim's going to get hurt, the Tangrowth, the Ivysaur, the Superior, the Hariyama, the Victreebel, the Scrafty. This thing can come in and just hurt things. I think that's the thing. With a PvP battle, they go really fast, and sometimes it is just all about, can I waste my opponent's shield? And if you can, brilliant. Or if you swap in against something that they're going to Hurricane you and you just Grass Knot them and you just predict. Prediction's obviously a lot harder in Pokemon Go PvP in my opinion, because you've got less time to really think about it. You're just hitting the buttons. But I would say Hurricane will annihilate Ludicolo, and Whimsicott just looks very, very powerful. Jellicent is another one on this list from the last list. Bubble, Shadow Ball, and Ice Beam. So it's got the Shadow Ball against the Deoxys, it's got the Shadow Ball against the Cresselia. it's got the Shadow Ball potentially even against the Medicham, because the Medicham can't really fight back, being a ghost with fighting and psychic ghost. So it can take a heck of a lot of hits, and this has got a lot of stamina, and Bubble is a very good quick move, because on every Azumarill it's got to be good, right? Then Ice Beam deals with the dragons, and pretty much just, and can hit Skarmory. So again, a good Pokemon. Cherrim, I'm so happy Cherrim's on this list. Cherrim, without a shadow of a doubt, is one of my favourite Pokemon. I have one for PvP called God Tier. It's a story that I might just have to make a video on at some point, but I'm not going to go into how much I love Cherrim in this. But Razor Leaf, Power Whip, Hyper Beam. Sadly, Hyper Beam doesn't seem that it's a very, very long. It takes a long time for Hyper Beam to charge up, and it would hit hard. But being a normal type, if they swap in a Bastiodon, a Probopass, even a Registeel, it's literally going to do nothing. This is good to hold off. It can probably hold off things like Azumarill. It can hit the Quagsire quite well. It can get the Stunfisk quite well. I'm actually very interested. Cherrim might be the one I do a deep dive into and start using in a team, because again, personal favourite Pokemon, and I have one ready to go. Talking about personal favourite Pokemon, the next Pokemon is Venusaur. Venusaur, again, this is going to be from the Community Day, and I think we'll jump into Ivysaur as well here, just because it's all about the CP of the good Bulbasaurs you have, I think, with these. If you don't have low enough CP Bulbasaur that it's not going to be under 1500 CP for a Venusaur, you've got an Ivysaur, and it being the Poison type and Grass, it is Azumarill's worst nightmare, because it's got double effective moves against it. Yes, Azumarill does sometimes carry Ice Beam, but then if it's the Azumarill to counter the things, it's running Hydro Pump instead. So if you come across this exact Azumarill from this list, Venusaur's going to wreck it, Ivysaur's going to wreck it. So I think it's just got the potential to be a very powerful pair of Pokemon you can use, also depending just what you got, basically. If you got a decent one, you could evolve all the way up. Bayleaf is exactly the same. I think it's gonna stand out as a Pokemon that if you just don't have a decent, if you didn't have a decent Chikorita that you can evolve all the way up, you're gonna use Bayleaf. That's pretty much all we can say about these Pokemon, that they're gonna be just usable in that respect. Interesting that Servine isn't on this list. Hesperia is. I have to look more into Servine afterwards, but obviously I'm going through this list for more of the research that I've put into. So Gramble is up next. Charm, Crunch, and Close Combat. Now Gramble's got that's utility right there. So you've got Charm, as I spoke about in the last video, being a very, very powerful move, doing 20 damage consistently, and it hits the dragons like Zweilous and Altaria very well, and the Umbreon very well. You've got Crunch against Psychic types like Cresselia, and you've got Close Combat against Steel types like Registeel, and Bastiodon, and Probopass. Gramble could actually be a bit of a dark horse, I think, in Great League. Tropius is back here as well with a Razor Leaf, Leaf Blade, and Aerial Ace. Same moveset. Aerial Ace is obviously go against those fighting types, and then other grass types it can hold its own. Probably hold its own maybe against the Venusaur. The Venusaur's probably going to worry more about flying. But then with Venusaur and Ivysaur both with the Sludge Bomb, it could be a very to and fro battle between those two. It's also good against fighting against the Meganium and the Whimsicott and things like that. The Whimsicott, actually, it's a very good counter to the Whimsicott. I know there's Hurricane, but I think that Tropius could probably pull it out of the bag against Whimsicott. Up next we have Tangrowth. Tangrowth has Vine Whip, Power Whip, and Ancient Power, which, again, that's quite fitting for the main series games, really, but Ancient Power is very good against like the flying types. Again, Altaria. Not so much Skarmory. I think Tangrowth does fall really hard to Skarmory. But I'd say it can hit the Stunfisk, and it can hurt the Scrafty, the Quagsire, and then maybe the Ludicolo could fall to this, being the part water type with just the Power Whip and Vine Whip. And then Ancient Power can just hit anything that it just doesn't like, really. It can hit some flying types. Those Mandabuzzes can just take one Ancient Power, and then Tangrowth can go down something else and come in and revenge. Whether it is something you would take is, that's completely up to you. Again, if you have one that you can use, I wouldn't get so hung up. I don't have a good Deoxys, I don't have a good Skarmory, I don't have a good Azumarill. You've got good counters here that are good things you can use to counter these Pokemon. Clefable, Charm, Meteor Mash, and Psychic. Psychic against the fighting types here, like Hariyama and Medicham. Not so much Scrafty. And then Meteor Mash to hit like rock types, so it can do things against potentially Probopass and Bastiodon, but then they will hit Clefable back quite hard. But again, some natural bulk on Clefable, and Charm, again, being very good. Charm is just a very powerful move. Medicham with the counter Psychic Ice Punch, again, a good utility moveset for this Pokemon. So it has the counter against the Registeel, the Probopass, the Bastiodon, it has the Psychic against the other fighting types, like this Hariyama and things like that. Then it has the Ice Punch against Skarmory and Altaria and Zweilous. And then any of the grass types on this list, Tropius, Cherrim, Venusaur, Ivysaur, Meganium, Superior, Whimsicott, it can really hurt things very, very well. Quagsire, a little personal favourite of mine, Mudshot, Stone Edge, Earthquake. I'd say it's a moveset that hasn't got a great deal of utility. It's one of those movesets where Earthquake can really hurt things like the Lantern, potentially. And I do feel like this is one of those Pokemon, if you don't have a Whiscash, you can have a Quagsire. I think that's a good way of putting, because Whiscash is quite far down the list in the top 30. But I would say if you've got something that's... If you've got a Quagsire that's decent, you could easily take a Quagsire. And using like Stone Edge to hurt things like, even can hurt the Tropius, it can hurt the Altaria and things like that. It is powerful. Another kind of utility Pokemon here with a Ludicolo being grass and water with access to Ice Beam, so Razor Leaf, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump. Guess what? Ice Beam is good against the Altaria. Another one of these just insane Pokemon that you just need to look out for. Hydro Pump, again, it is hard for Hydro Pump to power up, but then it can pretty much one-shot things like Bastiodon, Probopass. If they've got no shields left, you bring in something, you Hydro Pump them, that's it. Again, this is only if you haven't got a good Azumarill, in my opinion. I think Azumarill is better, because there's a reason it's tier 1. I'd say it's the most tier 1 Pokemon in Pokemon Go PvP. Stunfisk is back with Thundershock, Discharge, Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb is actually something I actually overlooked in the last video. It's actually fairly decent to say against those Lantern, which Lantern I think is a very, very good Pokemon in PvP. Like, it's just got it's got the moves to fight against the big boys, and it's got, I think, a lot of natural bulk to it if things don't have Earthquake. And I think it's just got it's got some HP, stamina in Pokemon Go, and I think it's a very good chance of Lantern doing well. Stunfisk as itself, I don't know what it really hits. Obviously there is no resistances in this game, so it can hit Quagsire and it can hit Whiscash and things like that. And if people could bring maybe things like Marsh Stomps and things like that, can... Stunfisk got one I've got to look into a bit more, but I think it has its reasoning for being here is it's got the moves to fight the meta, and that's all you really need to know. Really, if you get a decent Stunfisk, it is actually that. It is pretty good against the meta. Cresselia is very far down this list in comparison to where it was in the main list of good Pokemon. It's not as much as a good counter to the meta. So we've got Psycho Cut, Future Sight, and Moonblast. 2 psychic moves, very good against the fighting types. It will fall foul to a lot of dark types. So it's got Moonblast against like dark types, things like that. But I think the reason it's so far down this list is there's not much in the big boys that are really weak to psychic. This will hurt things like Venusaur and Ivysaur and things like that. So if these guys are all in like a bit of a brawl, Cresselia could definitely come out on top with just its natural bulk. Up next we have Superior, which is a cool one. Vine Whip, Leaf Tornado, and Aerial Ace. I don't know what I completely did up there. So with this Pokemon, I would probably say that a very fast Pokemon. Again, going by the main series games, it's, when I say fast, I say they move it's easy to get Aerial Ace going as a charge move. When I keep saying speed, I don't mean speed as in actual speed of the Pokemon. But we've got Vine Whip and Leaf Tornado. Guess what? It hurts Azumarill. Bowser isn't carrying the Ice Beam. If it is the counter set that uses the Hydro Pump and Play Rough with Bubble, then Superior could have a really good time just destroying things. Personal opinion, I pick Venusaur for its poison typing. I think because there are other fairy types in the game like Clefairy and Wigglytuff and Granbull, I think having the poison type is probably better. But again, this is all down to what Pokemon do you have, and these are the top 30, so all these are viable. That's just what I'm trying to get across in these videos. All these are viable for you to use, just use whichever one you have. Scrafty, again, Scrafty is a Pokemon that is only available through the Pokemon Go PvP leagues, which I haven't actually got Scrafty yet. I've been doing a lot more research into the game more than actually playing it recently because I've been working a lot, but Scrafty being the dark fighting type, it's brilliant against the Probopass and brilliant against the Bastiodon, and it's just a very powerful with counter Foul Play and Power Punch. It's just going to be, it's one of those Pokemon that's going to dent your opponent's team, and then other Pokemon are going to come in and just hit it and sweep. Well, not sweep, but I'd say they'll be able to at least finish off the opponent's Pokemon. Scrafty is one to definitely look out for. It can deal with obviously the Registeel, which, as you can see, is the top Pokemon of all of the counters and the top Pokemon, like up there. Hariyama is a counter Dynamic Punch and Heavy Slam. So Heavy Slam good against it's the Rock types and the Fairy types. So there are quite a few of those running around in the league. And then counter Dynamic Punch. Not many things have Dynamic Punch, so I think it's a very, very powerful move. A Bastiodon and a Probopass and a Registeel do not want to be hit by a Dynamic Punch. It just doesn't want to happen. So Hariyama, if you have them in the right leagues, then it is very, very powerful. Victory Bell. That's a nice Victory Bell here. Razor Leaf, Leaf Blade, Sludge Bomb. It's this just reminds me of Venusaur with a bit less bulk. I think Frenzy Plant is better in every way than Leaf Blade and like Razor Leaf, but again, Victory Bell, if you've got one, I think it's going to be very good against Quagsire and Marshtomp and Lantern, things like that. It's going to be very powerful. Having that poison typing, as I said, I think is better than having the poison type to the flying move because you can hit more things in the meta, I think. Next we have Hitmonchan, another utility Pokemon. I think a utility Pokemon is very, very beneficial to have. So counter Ice Punch, Fire Punch. So it has the counter and it has its stab move. And then it has just the Ice Punch and the Thunder Punch for the meta. This thing I don't think is ever going to last very long in a battle. But another Pokemon that's going to come in and just dent your opponent's team, and then your other things can come in and just finish things off. So Hitmonchan one to look out for as just a bit of a heavy hitter, bit of a glass cannon, then it's going to fall over. Machamp counter Rock Slide and Cross Chop. So Rock Slide's good against the flying types, more like Altaria and even Tropius, and other flying types that pop up. I think maybe like Swellow, things like that could pop up in Great League as well. And very powerful Pokemon in general. Machamp, it's one of those OG Pokemon that's just very, very strong, and its fighting types are good against, again, the big boys at the top of Probopass, Bastiodon, Registeel, Regirock, Umbreon. I keep forgetting what other ones are at the top as well. Next we have Ampharos with Volt Switch, Thunder Punch, and Focus Blast. Focus Blast again is the fighting type, so it's good against these Rock and Steel types, Probopass, Bastiodon, etc., Umbreon, Regis. And then you've got the electric types against, you've got this Jellicent here, you've got a Lanterns, you've got a bunch of, Marshtomps, because again, it's not resistant or anything, Quagsires, a lot of different things. I think Ampharos kind of surprises me it's here, but then I definitely see why it's here looking at the meta. Maybe there are other things you could take. I'd rather take a Lantern for its extra typing, but then saying that if you don't have something with a fighting move against the other areas of the meta, you are going to start struggling. Alolan Ninetales, that's a cool one. Charm, Psyshock, Ice Beam being the Fairy Ice type. It's got the Psychic against, say, things like Venusaur, but it hasn't got to really worry about Venusaur with an Ice Beam. It's got Charm, so it's never a Pokemon that's out of the running. If it's got Charm, it's a very, very powerful move. It's hilarious because Charm in the main series game doesn't actually do any damage. Really funny, but Alolan Ninetales is one to definitely look out for. I think it's a very, very good typing. And it being a fairy ice, dragons can't do anything. Dragons, Zweilous, Altaria, just run away crying. Alolan Ninetales is one of those ones that if you've got a good one, you're going to do okay. I think you can do quite well with an Alolan Ninetales. Gloom, Razor Leaf, Sludge Bomb, Petal Blizzard. Another one of these grass types that I just feel like you've got a good range of grass types on this list, from Venusaur, Ivysaur, Meganium, Bayleaf, Ludicolo, Victreebel, Superior, and you got Torterra even next as well. So it's all depending on what you've got and what you think fits in your team. What moves are you missing? That's the thing. So we jump over to the last one here in Torterra. We've got Razor Leaf, Sand Tomb, Stone Edge. So are you missing that ground and rock move on your team that's going to hit? So the ground move's going to hit Probopass and Bastiodon and Registeel quite hard. And then you've got Stone Edge will hit the Altaria really hard and potentially going to help you against like Tropius and things like that. So this is obviously going to be a Pokemon that does get hurt quite nasty by ice, but then again, like any other grass type, because again, main series games, it's 4 times weak to ice, but there's no 4 times weakness in this game. So that is going to be it for the top 30 counters. There are a lot of counters to the meta. I do think it's funny that the actual meta Pokemon are also counters to the meta, but I think that's what keeps them very, very powerful. So if you are doing PvP, look out for obviously, look out for a lot of these Pokemon. These are obviously just the top ones that can be used. These aren't the only ones you're going to see. I think one of my next videos, the battles I uploaded, I put them up in like quite fast succession. I'm going to take them and I'm going to break them down individually of what I did wrong, the Pokemon that were used, and things that took me a bit by surprise, and we'll break down some of the Pokemon that were used in those as well. So that is it for the top 30 counters for Great League. Hope you did enjoy. Leave a like on the video if you did, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next stream/video, which hopefully will be either my breakdown of my battles, or I'm going to be doing the top 30 Ultra League Pokemon, and yeah, then I'll do the counters for that, and then I'll do Master League. So cheers guys, see you soon, bye bye.